Alice asked us to prepare a brief presentation of our ongoing research on the endangered rusty patch bumblebee. And for those of you in the ESA audience, we're conducting this research to inform national monitoring efforts specifically for rusty patch, but we recognize our work has relevance to future monitoring of other bumblebee species of conservation concerns. So Tam, would you please provide our audience with a brief background about rusty patch bumblebee monitoring?
Yeah, you bet, Clint. So in the Rusty Patch Bumblebee Recovery Plan, the Fish and Wildlife Service has set specific targets related to stable or increasing occupancy trends of Rusty Patch across multiple conservation units. We aim to reach these occupancy targets before considering things like downlisting or eventually delisting of Rusty Patch. And we have other population health goals within the recovery plan, but achieving increasing or stable occupancy trends through time is one of the main goals.
So in the recovery plan, from that recovery plan, we know occupancy is going to be a primary metric or a state variable of interest moving forward with rusty patch bumblebee monitoring. And for clarity, occupancy is the proportion of areas, patches, or sampling units that are occupied by the species. So the species is present.
Yeah, and I should also point out that the service has interested in improving our monitoring guidance so that we can better track changes in occupancy through time. And one of the big areas of uncertainty that we have and we want to address is how much sampling effort do we need to put into it to be reasonably confident that Rusty Patch is truly absent for a site. So in 2021, you and I developed a research project with several other folks to inform monitoring guidance to specifically address that detection uncertainty in Rusty Patch Bumblebee monitoring. So can you talk about that?
Yeah, in 2021, our research team completed a 4-state study to determine the number of repeated 30-minute surveys that are required to achieve a cumulative detection probability of 0.95. So that is how many surveys do we need to conduct to be 95% sure that rusty patch bumblebee is absent from a site during the growing season if it goes undetected by our surveyors. And in short, what we found the answer is 6 surveys, 6 30-minute surveys, preferably in July. And if you only conduct, for example, 1 or 2 30-minute surveys, well, then you functionally have a little bit better chance than a coin flip as to whether or not you're going to detect rusty patch bumblebee at the site when it's actually there. So if you don't account for this sort of observational process error, you're always going to underestimate occupancy of rusty patch. And that's going to make it harder for all of us to achieve the recovery goals if those goals include achieving a certain level or a critical threshold of rusty patch bumblebee occupancy, because we're always going to be estimating it if we don't account for underestimating it if we don't account for imperfect detection.
Yeah, that was a good overview of what we did in 2020 for research. And now that we figured out how much survey effort is required, how much or how does the research and monitoring community use that information?
Yeah, so although we only got 1 year of research data and we gotta refine those estimates, we now have something to provide to the monitoring community about how much effort should they put in before they should move on to the next site, because they can be reasonably confident rusty patch bumblebee is no longer there. And just as an example, this past summer, our research team applied the detection estimates that we have to a new study where we want to estimate rusty patch bumblebee occupancy at 2 spatial scales of interest. We won't go into the details here, but we found that, hey, we found 28 new rusty patch bumblebee sites in 2022 just by applying these detection estimates to make sure we are maximizing efficiency of our survey time and effort. So this is just a working example of how you can apply these detection estimates to make better use of your monitoring time.
Yeah, so now through this research, we have a better understanding of Rusty Patch Bumblebee detection uncertainty so that we could be, we can more confidently estimate occupancy and monitor changes in occupancy through time. And so we hope that this work will be useful to the RCN and to the monitoring efforts for other bumblebees. So thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Thanks.